Stepping back, Simone Biles' new message on mental health in an Olympic shocker. I'm Nicole Burley. It is Tuesday, July 27th. This is Rush Hour. Well, thanks so much for joining us tonight. Here's what's happening in your nation right now. Heart-stopping new video and emotional testimony from 4 officers who fought the mob on January 6th, telling lawmakers they thought they were going to die defending the Capitol, all while Republicans blast this investigation as a one-sided sham. And a disturbing clip out of Atlanta sparking accusations of police brutality, a handcuffed woman lying on her stomach, kicked in the face. The department now taking action against those officers involved. And in Ohio, Simone Biles' family and friends gathering for a watch party tonight, but they will not be watching the 4-time Olympic gold medalist after she withdrew from team competition for mental health reasons. Tonight, reaction to her decision from all around the globe. But we begin with breaking news out of Washington. The CDC reversing course on mask mandates, now recommending in some parts of the country masks go back on indoors, even for vaccinated Americans. You can see here COVID hospitalizations still relatively low right now compared to the rest of the pandemic, but those numbers are starting to climb up nearly 50% in just the last week. NewsNation's Allison Harris live at the White House tonight. Allison, how is the administration responding?
Well, Nicole, the CDC is recommending that people put on their masks indoors yet again. And this is as the president is again mentioning the possibility, and I want to stress here, the possibility of lockdowns and shutdowns. The CDC this afternoon saying that even those who are fully vaccinated should wear masks in areas where there is low vaccination and high COVID spread. The CDC is showing those areas today in red, making up almost 2/3 of all U.S. counties, meaning much of the southeast and parts of the west. President Biden saying that if we have more vaccinations and more mask wearing, then we will not have to return to the lockdowns and the closures that we all experienced in 2020. The CDC director saying today that new scientific data shows that even those who are fully vaccinated can carry and transmit the Delta variant. And that's the variant that's called COVID on steroids, which is both more transmissible and more severe. This is a major reversal for the Biden administration, which declared independence from COVID and a summer of freedom just earlier this month. The president has made not having to wear a mask the major selling point to get vaccinated.
If you've been vaccinated, you don't have to wear your mask. I think it's a great milestone, a great day.
When he made those comments back in May, we were dealing with a very different strain of the virus.
51% of the country is not fully vaccinated. The CDC director saying that this could have been avoided had more Americans gotten their shots. The CDC also recommending today that students at all grade levels, kindergarten through high school, wear masks going back to school, even if they're over 16 and they have already been vaccinated. Just last week, the governor of Florida said that students there would not be, quote, muzzled by masks. Florida is one of several states, including Arkansas, Iowa, Montana, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Texas, that have banned mask mandates. The White House and health experts are reiterating that the science shows that people who are fully vaccinated have great protection against severe illness from this virus. Nicole?
All right, Allison Harris live for us. And just in, President Biden asking if his administration is considering requiring the vaccine for all federal employees. Here's what he said.
Will you require all federal employees to get vaccinated?
That's under consideration right now, but if you're not vaccinated, you're not nearly as smart as I thought you were.
Well, as hospitalizations rise, especially among the unvaccinated, some parents are lying about the age of their kids, all in an effort to get them the shot. NewsNation's Marky Martin is live tonight in Dallas. Marky, desperate times, of course, do call for desperate measures, but we know the vaccine isn't even yet approved for children under age 12.
Yeah, Nicole, here in Texas, school is a mere 3 weeks away. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but summer is winding down here. And now families are prepping to be back in the classroom, you know, not just with their school supply list, but also with what's best for their child in the time of COVID-19. And yes, there are some parents who are considering lying about the age of their child in order to get them that double dose of the vaccine. Now, Nicole, as you know, as it stands now, only children who are 12 and older are eligible for that double dose of the Pfizer shot. But parents with younger kiddos, they're having to say, okay, how do we navigate moving forward here? Do we send them back to the classroom? Do we continue with virtual learning? Do we do a hybrid mix of both? Take a listen to this father who lives down in Austin, Texas, who says he is considering lying about the age of his 9-year-old daughter to get her protected.
I weigh her safety versus the morality of making this decision. And to be honest, the morality of it doesn't weigh quite nearly as much as protecting my daughter.
Now, we talked to a Dallas-based pediatrician today who says for other parents who are having this exact same thought, don't do it. She says this is a bad idea. And those adolescent trials only included patients who were 12 and older. So her piece of advice to parents was wait until your child reaches at least that minimum age, and also adding, rest assured, a vaccine for younger children will come. It's just a matter of when. Nicole.
All right, Marky, thank you so much. All right, let's move from Marky now to D.C., where Joe Khalil is live for us. So, Joe, talk to us tonight. We know that there was testimony today on the January 6th insurrection. Pretty emotional at times.
Yeah, Nicole, real emotional, to say the least. And put it this way, it's not often in a congressional hearing that you have 2 sitting members of Congress and then basically all 4 of the people testifying move to tears at one point or another. These officers described what it was like for them on January 6th, being beaten, fearing for their lives, being called traitors. There was brand new video that we had never seen before of officers being assaulted that we saw today. And these officers also talked about some frustration they've had with citizens of Congress. They say, frankly, have downplayed or even lied about what happened on January 6th. Here's a taste of their testimony.
Too many are now telling me that hell doesn't exist, or that hell actually wasn't that bad. The indifference shown to my colleagues is disgraceful.
I had to push my wife away from me because she wanted to hug me. And I told her no, because of all the chemical that my uniform had on.
And Harry Dunn, an African-American officer, talked about how he had never before been called the N-word while he was wearing his Capitol Police uniform before that day. A lot of really emotional and disturbing testimony. Before today, there was a lot made of the makeup of this committee, of Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney being the only 2 Republicans serving on that committee, appointed not by their party, but by Democrats. There wasn't a lot about that today, but Liz Cheney did speak right after the chairman of the committee, an indication that she may play a really important role in the investigation moving forward. And kind of a side note, Nicole, Republican leaders held their own press conference outside the Capitol today, talking about how they think it may be Speaker Pelosi culpable for the Capitol Police not being prepared on that day. Nicole?
Yeah, we certainly hope to learn more about that day. All right, Joe Khalil, thank you. Well, breaking now out of Colorado, some disturbing new body cam footage just released. It shows a brutal arrest. One officer holding a gun to a man's head, pistol whipping him, and reportedly strangling him for more than 30 seconds. Now, 2 officers are facing criminal charges. NewsNation's Michael Konopasek from our Denver station KDVR is live. So, Michael, has the department responded tonight?
Yes, the chief spoke out today, and she even said that she was angered and her eyes filled up with tears when she first saw this video. Again, this video is disturbing to watch. This happened last Friday when police were called for people allegedly trespassing. When police arrived, they found 3 men who they say had warrants out for their arrest. Now, Kyle Vincent was one of those men. A video shows police trying to arrest him. During a struggle, the chief says Officer John Hobart pistol whipped Vincent 13 times, held a gun to his head, and wrapped his hands around his neck for 39 seconds. Officer Hobart is now facing 5 felony charges, including assault. Officer Francine Martinez is facing 2 misdemeanors for failure to intervene. Colorado police officers by law are required to intervene when improper force is used by another police officer. That's a new law enacted last year following the killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis. Aurora, Colorado's police chief says officers are actively receiving training on de-escalation and on the duty to intervene. Both officers are on leave but have since bonded out of jail. Kyle Vincent was being shot for a warrant police say that they now believe he did not know about at the time. The warrant was for domestic violence. Nicole, back to you.
Yeah, that video is tough to watch. All right, Michael, thank you. Well, from Colorado to Florida now, in 1 month after that tragedy in Surfside, officials in South Florida looking at other high-rise buildings to make sure they are structurally sound. And in many cases, residents now being forced out over fears their buildings could also collapse. NewsNation correspondent Brian Enton is live in North Miami Beach. Brian, you're at one of those buildings.
Yeah, we are, Nicole. After the Surfside collapse, the South Florida officials started reviewing other buildings. What they found is startling. This is one of the buildings in North Miami Beach that has now been evacuated, a mandatory evacuation. You see, they've got the police out here. They told everyone that they had to go. And this isn't just happening here. Take a look at this map. It's pretty widespread. 8 different buildings in Broward and Miami-Dade County, Florida, all under either a mandatory or a voluntary evacuation right now because of safety issues inside. Miami-Dade County says they may possibly have 1,000 unsafe structures just in their county alone. Here at this building where we're here all day, very sad to see people forced out. They only had a couple of hours to pack up everything they own and get out.
You know, I'm 4 months pregnant and I was not expecting to be kicked out of my apartment. You know, I am happy to be out because, you know, I don't want to die. I don't want my family to die. You know, I have a family on the 5th floor and then I'm on the 7th.
The Red Cross is assisting many of these families, putting them up in hotel rooms, but they're worried because they say that'll only last a couple of weeks. Most of them, though, say they are relieved to be out, worried that they could have been in an unsafe building that could also collapse. Nicole?
Oh, yeah, such a scary situation. All right, Brian, thank you. Well, extreme weather conditions have been hitting Utah very hard this month, particularly over the past 2 days. Look at this, severe flooding leading to a state of emergency in some areas. NewsNation's Jordan Verdadero with our station KTVX is in Cedar City. So Jordan, tell us how bad things are tonight.
Hi, Nicole. I'm in Cedar City at Southern Utah University, where I'm actually in one of the apartments that just got flooded after these flash floods. You can see the dirt behind me, just how high the water got, and students are now devastated as they lost most of their items. Over at an off-campus university building, students on the basement level saw water levels above their waist and many of their personal items just floating around. One student here from Australia says she lost the majority of her items, including her athletic gear, food, electronics, clothing, and school supplies. Southern Utah University leaders say faculty living near campus also lost homes and have severe damage.
I have nothing, pretty much. Like, it's gone. Like, you know, you think like, oh, it's water, you can save it, but it's like, it was septic water. Like, you know, we lost thousands of dollars that it took years for us to get, and it's just gone.
University officials are working to get funding for those in need, and there is a building on campus where displaced students are welcome to stay in. There's also a shelter set up at a nearby church, courtesy of the American Red Cross. However, both the shelter and community are asking for volunteers during the cleanup process. And students say they're thankful for the community stepping up, and they're just hoping that help keeps rolling through the door. Reporting in Cedar City, back to you, Nicole.
All right, Jordan, yeah, we're just really wishing those people the very best. Thank you. Well, other states also trying to recover from severe flooding in addition to Utah. We know Nevada cleaning up after a storm brought in strong winds and flooding. So let's get to Chief Meteorologist Albert Ramon. Albert, how much is flooding affecting these areas?
Well, the good news is all of the watches and warnings that were in place 24 hours ago have since been expired. Let me show you the satellite radar map. We still have some showers and storms on the map, and this is going to be the trend over the next couple of days, really through the weekend. Daytime heating, some afternoon and evening storms in the forecast, but again, no watches and warnings. The good news is some of this moisture has found its way into the Pacific Northwest as well as in northern areas of California. That's where we have these active fires right now. Significant improvement around the Boot Lake fire, the Tamarack fire, Dixie fire, though, though, now over 208,000 acres. We'll continue to keep an eye on that. The other big story happening across the country, a heat wave has really taken hold of the center part of the country, from Montana stretching all the way to the Gulf Coast. Heat advisories, excessive heat warnings in effect. Some places may deal with heat indices exceeding 110 degrees in the coming days. And also keeping an eye on severe weather tonight approaching Boston. Portions of the Northeast and New England under severe thunderstorm watch until 10 p.m. Eastern time. We'll keep an eye on all it for you, Nicole.
Yeah, we are feeling that heat here in Chicago. Let's still ahead tonight on Rush Hour. Reaction pouring in from around the globe after Simone Biles pulled out of team competition, saying she just wasn't there mentally. What are the chances she comes back for the rest of the Olympic Games? And later, it was a trial that made national headlines. A 9-year-old boy stabbed and set on fire by his own father. That boy recovered and faced his father in court, ultimately helping lock him up for life. Now he's speaking exclusively to NewsNation about how his adopted family is helping him move forward. An Olympics bombshell today. Gymnast Simone Biles, who was poised to win 6 golds in Tokyo, dropped out of the team competition after a rocky start in her first event. For now, though, she is still slated to compete in the individual events. So let's bring in NewsNation's Jack Doles. He is in Tokyo. Jack, we have now heard from Biles herself.
Yeah, Nicole, this was a stunning development. And if Naomi Osaka lighting the cauldron didn't get the conversation about mental health going, this certainly will. Biles had a shaky performance on the vault and then told her teammates, hugged her teammates, and said she could not go on. Biles earlier in the day after practice said she went to her room, was not able to take a nap. She was shaking. You remember, at these Olympics, no family, so she doesn't have that support staff she normally would. No fans in the stands. That was an issue as well. This whole GOAT campaign adds an extra layer of pressure on Simone Biles. Mental health, you cannot put a sling on your head and fix this. You can't put tape on it. The mental health part just simply overwhelmed her on Tuesday in Tokyo.
No injury, thankfully, and that's why I took a step back, because I didn't want to do something silly out there and get injured. So I thought it was best if these girls took over and did the rest of the job, which they absolutely did. They're Olympic silver medalists now, and they should be really proud of themselves for how well they did last minute having to go in.
So the Russian team wins the gold. Right now, we expect Simone Biles to compete in the all-around competition. But, Nicole, that'll be to be determined. Let's see how she feels going forward.
Yep, we'll see how she feels. All right, Jack, thank you so much. We'll check back in with you tomorrow. And tough decision by Biles, taking herself out of team competition. Of course, it stunned people all around the world. So let's bring in NewsNation's Aaron Nolan. He has been to 2 different Olympic Games. Aaron, you've been scouring social media to see how people are reacting tonight.
Yeah, it's all been positive for Simone. It was an early morning shock that turned to a flood of reaction on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. She's the greatest of all time, and she took a timeout during a competition. But the outpouring of support from the athletic and pop culture world, it was quick. Fellow American gymnast and 6-time Olympic medalist Aly Raisman said on Instagram, "Wish I could give you the biggest hug. Sending you all the love and support, Simone Biles." Actor Elijah Wood was to the point on Twitter, "Heart is with you, Simone Biles." Poet Amanda Gorman noticed how quickly Biles went from self-care to focusing on others. She said on Twitter, Biles still cheering on her teammates, even while taking care of herself, is one of the many graces that make her a true champion forever and always. We love you, Simone. Nicole, watching this morning in the coverage after and hearing from Simone, you saw a confident champion, one that maybe realized in that moment, not only did she need time, she knew the best way to help her team was not to be there so they could still win that medal. And Nicole, I think it's something that we talk about nowadays, and we didn't years ago. It's the need for a mental health day.
Right.
And I think Simone maybe just needed that today.
Yeah, kudos to her for recognizing it, you know? So,
yeah, absolutely. Right. And she recognized it quickly, and she knew in that moment, let my team move forward, and they still won silver. So congratulations to them.
Congrats to them, and glad that Simone is also getting that support. All right, Aaron, thank you. Let's give you a quick check of the leaderboard. U.S. in the lead with 25 medals, but when it comes to gold, Japan is in the lead with 10. Let's still ahead on rush hour. Dash cam footage shows police officers with a front row seat to a drive-by shooting. But rather than stopping that gunman, the officers drive away. How the department is responding tonight. And a new twist in the murder case of an Iowa college student, the man convicted of killing her now requesting a new trial, why his defense team says the wrong person is behind bars. Breaking right now, a large explosion has demolished a house in Rome, Wisconsin. That's just north of the Wisconsin Dells. There are reports that at least one person has died. We're working to confirm that. Still a very active situation right now. We will keep you updated. But right now, we'll look at other top stories happening in your nation right now. Shark sightings on the rise up and down the East Coast, including New York. Experts say the sharks are being pushed farther up the coast because of a growing problem in Florida. And a 9-year-old boy survives a deadly attack, stabbed and lit on fire by his own father. He's now speaking exclusively to NewsNation about his recovery, facing his father in court, and the new loving family giving him a second chance at a happy life. But we begin in Iowa, where today we saw a new twist in the murder trial of college student MOLLIE TIBBETTS. The man convicted of killing her insists he is innocent and wants a new trial to prove it. NewsNation's Kaylin Thompson from our station WHO in Iowa has the latest new details. Kaylin, can you tell us what happened in court today?
Yes, good evening, Nicole. Well, the defense continued its effort of trying to connect MOLLIE TIBBETTS' murder with sex trafficking. 6 people took the stand today, including one man who claims an Iowa inmate told him that he admitted to killing TIBBETTS.
He's like, I killed her. I'm like, I said, I don't believe you. And then he says, you know, the guy that's being charged for it right now? I said, no, I don't. He's like, we set him up. He's like, it was a sex trafficking case gone wrong. And I stabbed her to death and put her in a tarp.
That was Arnie Mackey talking about a previous conversation he had with Gavin Jones while they were in Keokuk County. Mackey came forward with this story after hearing Rivera testify back in May, causing Rivera's defense to request a new trial after his conviction. The defense also called to the stand law enforcement and people who know of James Lowe. This an attempt to connect MOLLIE TIBBETTS' murder with the disappearance of Xavier Harrelson. But the prosecution and investigators remain confident the right.
All right, we're having some audio issues there. That was Kaylin Thompson reporting for us out of Iowa. Well, now in Florida, last month, a judge in Tampa found Ronnie O'Neill guilty of killing his girlfriend and young daughter, also stabbing his son. Now, you may remember this. O'Neill represented himself in court, even questioned his son during the trial. NewsNation's Jeff Patterson from our Tampa station WFLA is live. So, Jeff, little Ronnie now getting a second chance at childhood.
Yeah, no question about it. Good evening. Well, during the trial, we were very careful to protect the identity of young Ronnie. After all, he's a victim who survived a horrific night. But now with his permission and the permission of his adoptive parents, we are telling his story and the story of how he came to be with his new family.
You will see who is the mass murderers.
It was a trial that captivated the Bay Area and the nation.
This whole entire case has been tampered with.
It began March 18th, 2018. Mike Blair with the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office got a call to respond to a crime scene in Riverview. Blair has responded to hundreds of calls. This one changed his life.
There was a child being medevaced to Tampa General, but he was not expected to live.
Ronnie O'Neill III, accused of killing his girlfriend, daughter, and severely wounding his son Ronnie, insisted on acting as his own attorney. In one heartbreaking moment, he questioned Ronnie in court.
How did I hurt you?
You stabbed me. Ronnie III was found guilty of murder. But for Ronnie, now 12, it's important to him that we remember his mother and sister.
She was just a good mom.
Kenyatta Barron was back in school attending HCC, but still had time to play football with him. And Ronnie had his own special way of communicating with his disabled sister, Ronivia.
We did like a lot of things together. She was nice.
In the hospital, Mike Blair visited Ronnie as he recovered.
He kind of held onto my hand and as I left, and he said, "Could you watch a movie with me?"
At that moment, Mike knew he had to speak with his wife.
We were planning to go on a date night that night, and I said, "Hey, instead of doing date night, do you mind if we go watch a movie with this kid?"
I had already known that I would want to take Ronnie home with us starting that night.
Now Ronnie has a new family and 5 new siblings who've accepted Ronnie into their lives.
One of the best moms and dads. They take care of me.
It's become more than just a new house for Ronnie. It's a home. They even have a family mantra.
As it goes to the family, and it's, "I am safe, I am loved, and I am part of this family."
Just remarkable people. The Blairs, as you heard, already have 5 children of their own, but those children actually encourage them to bring young Ronnie into their house to give him a new opportunity. Ronnie is now receiving physical therapy for his physical wounds and mental health care to help him through the ordeal that he suffered through.
Oh my gosh, you're making me emotional over here, Jeff. We just really, really wish the very best for Ronnie and the Blairs. Kudos to that family. All right, Jeff, thank you. Well, take a look at this unbelievable video. This is dash cam from Detroit police. Watch as a man with a rifle pops out of this car, shoots at another man on the street, but the police officers don't go after the gunman. Instead, they speed away. And now an investigation is underway. So joining me now, NewsNation's Adrian Bankert. Adrian, right now those officers off the street, but the gunman is still on the street. He's out there somewhere.
That's right, Nicole. The officers are under investigation. So far, no arrests have been made, and we're still awaiting details as to exactly what happened before and after this moment. But the chief of police is saying what he's seen in the video is troubling. Detroit police dash cam video showing a gunman in the blue car that you're about to see here pulling out a weapon, the man holding it sitting up from the back of the car, and he's seen firing shots at a man on the street, hitting him. But as this plays out, you're actually seeing the dash cam video of the officer's car speed away, leaving the scene. We're going to replay that moment for you right here. That gunman appears right in the line of sight of this incident. It's not known yet whether the officers were caught off guard as the gunman emerged from the vehicle right in front of them. But in the end, the gunman and the driver got away. This happened on June 30th, but it was through an internal video audit by a deputy chief that this video was released. The department now investigating. Interim Police Chief James White had this to say: "This incident is troubling and it is unfortunate, and it's not consistent with our training. And it's also not consistent with the expectations that are set by myself and my command team." The chief suspended one officer while the other was on medical leave. How long it took the officers to return to the scene has not been released, and the two reportedly could be charged with a misdemeanor for their actions. Nicole?
Okay, so you just said how long it took them to return to the scene. So they did return to the scene, right? Or did they just leave?
Yes, good point. Good catch there. According to the chief, they did call the shooting in. They went back to help the man who was shot. He survived. The chief also adding that this incident does not represent the hard work of the over 2,000 men and women of this department day in and day out. Nicole?
All right, that is fair. All right, Adrian, thank you. Well, let's head to Atlanta now, where a disturbing video appears to show a police sergeant kicking a handcuffed woman in her head. NewsNation's Janelle Fort live in Atlanta. Janelle, another officer standing nearby and really appears to do nothing.
Yeah, Nicole, the video is truly cringeworthy. It was brought to light because it was posted to a popular Instagram page, and like many others, that's where I saw it first. In the video, you see the woman, who we now know as Ashley Cooley, on the ground, hands behind her back, handcuffed. And it appears that she lifts the top of her body to spit at the sergeant, and almost immediately we see that sergeant kick her in the head. Now, this video, it doesn't have any sound, so it's unclear what's being said, the events leading up to this moment. But watching it, you can't help but question, was this necessary? The video, it's gained so much traction that the top brass at Atlanta Police has now acknowledged the video. He's put out a statement. In that statement, the department said the actions of those in the video appear to fall outside of the standards and training of the department. And the department says that the sergeant who kicked Cooley in the head is now on unpaid leave. That other officer who stands by and appears to do nothing is on desk duty. And they say that this incident, it started as a call for help. A 911 caller told a dispatcher that there was a woman that was walking around with a gun threatening people. Police got there, they detained her, and then there was a question about her mental state. And in a news conference earlier today, Cooley's family and attorney both said that she suffers from mental health issues, but they say that is no excuse for the way she was treated in that video.
Nothing justifies what happened. We are aware of spitting that occurred, but nothing within the police policies requires them to respond with physical force the way they did.
Now, Atlanta police says further action is pending, and there is an expedited investigation into this incident, Nicole.
All right, the investigation continues. All right, Janelle, thank you. Let's head ahead tonight on Rush Hour. Shark sightings on the rise as Americans head to the beach, even as far north as New England. And experts say one of the main causes can be traced back to Florida. Plus, a new pandemic-era shortage could impact your summer vacation plans. How airlines are working to conserve jet fuel as the nationwide supply shrinks. Some unwelcome guests at the beach. Shark sightings becoming more frequent along the East Coast from New York to Florida. NewsNation's Tom Negevin is live from Jones Beach tonight. So, Tom, we know a lifeguard was attacked yesterday. Authorities shut down the beach today because of another shark sighting.
That's right. Just a few hours ago, Nicole, a drone put overhead because of the shark biting yesterday. It led to a shark sighting today, and the red flags go back up. Everybody comes out of the water. People on Twitter saying Jones Beach, a very popular, very, very popular New York area summertime destination, closed for the second day in a row. Somebody on Twitter saying it looks like a scene from Jaws over here. Yesterday, the lifeguard was about 15 yards out on a bodyboard, felt something tug at him, kicked it away, swam into shore, and saw a fin. Then noticed the 1-inch gash on his leg. Just a small bite, but still an apparent shark bite, Nicole. So a pretty big deal around here as I'm watching another helicopter going by. They're still searching this shallow water, looking for more of these creatures. And again, finding one earlier today. That lifeguard is going to be fine. Treated here, quick trip to the hospital, then home to recover more fully. But got some video here we want to show you. This comes from our NewsNation affiliate in Tampa, Florida. This is actually Longboat Key, the west central coast of Florida. Sharks as far as the eye can see, several different species, hundreds of them. Some estimate thousands. That may be hyperbole, but one eyewitness to this says you could practically walk across the canal on the backs of sharks if you wanted to. You don't. The reason for this is red tide, climate change changing the creatures' behavior, driving them into marinas where the oxygen level is a little bit higher than the areas permeated by the red tide, leading to an increase not in shark encounters, but definitely shark sightings, Nicole.
Well, Tom, I would agree. You definitely do not want to walk across the canal on the backs of sharks. You did mention those red flags. Do they go up a lot?
They do, more than you'd think, actually, several times this summer, but very rarely twice in 2 days, which is what we're seeing this week after at least 3 shark sightings in the area last week.
All right, Tom Negevin live for us tonight. Thank you. Well, if you do have plans to travel this summer, you may want to double check those plans. A jet fuel shortage could delay or even change some trips to the Pacific coast. NewsNation correspondent Nancy Liu live tonight near LAX. So, Nancy, is the impact only in the west?
Well, it's more evident here in the West due to wildfires, but of course there's a ripple effect across the country. Airlines say they are monitoring the impact and say it is minimal for now. Of course, this is all hitting during the heart of the summer travel season with a lot of flights full. Keeping airplane tanks full is challenging due to the supply of fuel that's stretched by the ongoing firefights against dozens of wildfires across the West. At the same time, there are not enough tanker drivers to make deliveries. The shortage is especially tight at smaller airports near wildfires, such as Reno Tahoe International, where airlines are taking things day by day.
they're looking at their operations and seeing what creative ways they can come up with in terms of keeping flights still in the air. And then on the airport side, we are working with our local officials to see how they might be able to help.
Now, passengers may encounter some fueling delays or added stops on some flights. At American, pilots have been instructed to conserve fuel when possible, such as taxiing with just one engine. Nicole?
All right, it seems like it's always something. All right, Nancy, thank you. As ahead tonight on Rush Hour, the leader of the pack is back, but maybe not for long. We're live outside Lambeau Field where Aaron Rodgers returned after a very lengthy holdout. Well, after some off-season football drama, Green Bay Packers star quarterback and reigning MVP Aaron Rodgers at training camp today after not participating in team activities in the spring. NewsNation's MK Burgess from our Green Bay station WFRV joining us live. MK, just seeing Rodgers at Lambeau Field, a very big deal for fans.
Nicole, you could not have said it better. Very big deal for fans and very big deal for anyone who's a fan of the Packers, his teammates included. He arrived very late last night into Green Bay and then showed up with some very stunning shades at Lambeau earlier this morning ahead of day one of practices for the green and gold tomorrow. They take the field at 10 a.m. And what a tumultuous offseason we have had. Back in May, reports come out that Aaron Rodgers is disgruntled, does not want to return to the team, to then suddenly Davante Adams saying that his talks about an extension have totally disintegrated. And then yesterday, news breaking that he told people close to him, Aaron Rodgers is, that he was going to return and play for the Packers. Now, Adam Schefter from ESPN has reported that the Packers are in the middle of getting a deal done that would allow Rodgers to have his last year of his contract voided so that he could be traded after the 2021 season. Now, what this does for the Packers is it also frees up some cap space that would allow them to then re-sign a few other players. That includes Davante Adams, who will be a free agent after this season when he is finished with his current contract. So more things to come. There's also news now that Randall Cobb could be traded to the Packers from the Texans, which would reunite Aaron Rodgers and his old teammate. So it's safe to say it was not a very boring offseason, and it proves to be not a very boring training camp for the Packers. Nicole?
Yeah, the excitement continues. MK, I wanted to see Aaron in those stunner shades you talked about. All right, MK.
I mean, the shades that he had on, and especially just the hairstyle he's got going on, you can tell that while everyone else was kind of on pins and needles, he had a pretty relaxing offseason,
cool.
to say the least.
He's the reigning MVP. What can you say? All right, MK, thank you. Well, the Download Report starts in about 10 minutes. Joe is down in our studio. Joe, what are you working on?
The gut. Masks coming back just when we thought it was safe, certainly a punch to the gut. What does this ever-changing guidance do to the spirit of America? Plus, one of the world's best athletes, Simone Biles, walks away from her team event today. I'll speak with a U.S. Olympic medalist about the pressures and what kind of toll those expectations can have on these elite athletes. And part 2 of our exclusive series on the NFL's questionable response to CTE and brain injuries. For years, the science for qualifying the disease was based on race. We're going to hear from the doctors on that. We'll see you with that and much more at the top of the hour. Nicole, back to you.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to that. All right, Joe, thank you. Well, still ahead on Rush Hour, one more check on some top stories making headlines across the country, including a plea deal for the man accused in the Atlanta area spa shootings, and he's still facing more charges. We continue tonight live from our NewsNation headquarters here in Chicago. Here are some other top stories we are watching right now. The CDC is again recommending people wear face masks indoors in certain parts of the country, regardless of their vaccination status. Health experts say breakthrough infections, which generally cause milder illness, can still occur in vaccinated people. And this comes amid an uptick in new Delta variant COVID cases, particularly in states with low vaccination rates. And an emotional opening hearing today of the congressional panel investigating the violent January 6th Capitol insurrection. 4 officers gave their various accounts of that attack, including being beaten, tased, and called racial slurs. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is leading the probe, which will examine not only former President Trump's role in the insurrection, but the groups involved in coordinating it. House GOP leader Kevin McCarthy calls the process a sham. A South Carolina man was convicted today in the abduction and murder of a college student who mistook his car for her Uber ride. It took the jury just over an hour to find Nathaniel Rowland guilty in the 2019 death of 21-year-old Samantha Josephson. Prosecutors say Josephson mistakenly got into Rowland's car, then was trapped when he engaged the child-proof locks. Her body was later found with more than 100 stab wounds. The man accused of killing 8 people last March in Atlanta area massage businesses pleaded guilty to murder today in 4 of those killings. 22-year-old Robert Aaron Long received 4 sentences of life without parole. He still faces the death penalty in the 4 other deaths, which are being prosecuted in a different county. Most of Long's victims were women of Asian descent. Olympic gymnast Simone Biles withdrew from Team USA competition. In a news conference, she said she felt off when she did the vault, then decided to pull out so she did not distract her team. Biles said it was stress, not an injury, as to why she set out. She is still eligible for the individual competition. Team USA ended up with the silver medal behind the Russian Olympic Committee, who took gold. And Texas and Oklahoma officially made a request today to join the powerhouse Southeastern Conference. The schools sent a joint letter to the SEC commissioner, who says the league would consider it in the, quote, near future. This comes a day after both schools notified the Big 12 they would not be extending the agreement with that league, which expires in 2025. That is all for Rush Hour tonight. You can follow me on social media. Just search Nicole Burley on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Next up, the Donlin Report. Later tonight, On Balance with Leland Bittert, NewsNation Prime, and then Banfield. And of course, you can check headlines anytime at newsnationnow.com. Have a great night.